Hey all, I'm back with another reading journal video. So in this video I'll be showing you how I set up my February 2025 spreads in my reading journal and how I update my February reads in my yearly spreads. This is kind of similar to the one I did for January month, which I posted like a month back. This is almost the exact same except that it'll all be February reads. So there's nothing much different that I'm doing for each month of the year. So I keep my reading journal pretty consistent and simple so that it doesn't overwhelm me and deter me from maintaining it consistently. So this was the one thing that I followed to remain consistent in my reading journal throughout 2024, and I'm following that for this year as well. So it's pretty low effort and it's pretty minimalistic, you could say. So that's how I look forward to doing my reading journal spreads actually. So yeah, coming to how I actually set up my spreads, I start with a very simple calendar page. So each month I track my reading. So each day I track my reading as to how many pages I read that day and from what book I read those. So that's what I'll be recording here in this journal at the end of the month. So the daily tracking I do in my Storygraph app, or I do on my Instagram stories, where I post I read so and so pages from this book. So at the end of the month I take out my journal and just sort of like copy them onto the physical journal. It's kind of like how you have a rough notebook and a fair notebook in school. So you ensure that your fair notebook is very very neat without mistakes and all. So that's kind of how I treat my journal. So yeah, how the spread works is I have a calendar at the top of the page, and below I have all the books I read that month. It's not necessary that I should be completing that book. Even if I have not completed that book, I write them down here and I mark the number of pages I read from that book in this month. So that's what you see here. The image on the left side is the Canva template I use to track my reading. So I post this as a story, and I have a book club called Lids on Book Club, through which I conduct these reading challenges where people could participate and kind of track their reading together. So it gives them a motivation to read and a sense of togetherness in reading every day. So that's what we all use this template for. And at the end of the month, like I said, I copy whatever I've done in this template to my physical journal. So that's how I set up this page, and I just decorate it with a couple of washi tapes in the page so that it does not look too plain. And after the calendar page, all my monthly spreads are just review pages. So I've got the pictures of the books I read this month. I cut them out. I printed them just on 28th February, the last day of the month, and when I knew that I wouldn't be reading anything for that day, so that I would get the Storygraph wrap-up charts also for that day. So that's what you see me doing here. So I cut up those book covers and paste them in the order that I read. So the first book I read this month was The Housemaid's Secret, and the second book I read was Love Under Starlight, and the third book was Love Unarranged. So I read only 3 books this month compared to a massive book count of 7 books in January. I was in a huge reading slump this month, and you might have noticed in the calendar page that I actually read only for like 15 days throughout entire February. So most of the days were marked in red cross marks, which meant that I did not read anything that day. But that's okay. I guess I still have a lot of months to catch up for. So all my review pages follow a pretty consistent layout. I just write the title in brush calligraphy style, and I mark the star rating, the genre, when did I read that book, etc. And in the bottom space I also write the reviews, but I haven't actually gotten around to writing the reviews for all these books yet. I haven't written the reviews even for some of my January reads. So when I did this video for January month, I had written the review for like 3 books, and this month I wrote review for only 1 book. So none of my February books have been reviewed by me yet. Yeah, so after the review pages, I make a wrap-up page in my journal. So that's something I added this year. Basically, I just cut up books in a much smaller size and paste them here. And I also had another thing. So there's this app called Storygraph, right? You might have heard about it. Um, so from that, I get a monthly wrap up kind of thing, and I print that out as well and paste it in my reading journal. And it was at this point that I realized the wrap up graph that I printed out for February was actually January's wrap up. So I had taken the wrong printout, and so we are just gonna leave that space blank here for now. I would fill this up when I take printouts for March next time. So yeah, that's how this page works. It's basically pretty much the same as January wrap up page, except that this month I do not have any wrap up graph to put it here. I just decorated with a couple of washi tapes like the previous pages as well. So with that, my monthly spreads are done. Now I move back to the yearly spreads. So this is a reading goals page that I set up at the beginning of the year as a very first spread. So here I basically, so my reading goal is to read 50 books this year. So as and when I read each month, I update these boxes. And this is a Lid Zone book club spread. So I run a book club called Lid Zone Book Club, and where we choose one book for each month. So these are the books we chose for Jan, Feb and March. I didn't get a chance to print them out before this. So this month, along with my February reads, I printed these also, and I'm just sticking them here. By the way, I haven't read any of these books in the respective months yet. And Read Christie, I actually didn't get around to completing it this month. I'm like around halfway in, so I'll be reading that in the first week of March and then update it. And the next yearly spread is Year in Pixels. You might probably now remember that from my previous videos. It's basically the number of pages that I read each day, and I color in these boxes according to the legend on the right side. So you might notice a lot of orange color boxes this month. Orange basically means nil, which means I did not read any pages that day. And the left side spread is the year overview page. I marked down basic statistics like the number of books I read, number of pages I read, etc. And this year I've also started tracking my Instagram followers on this page. And one good thing I did was I didn't buy any books at all this month. So my bought books count was 0. But my physical TBR still stands at 99 since I did not read also any physical books this year. The next page is the reading log. So here I list down all the books that I read each month with some basic details like title, author, ratings, etc. So that's pretty much my updates for February. Here's a quick flip through. First the calendar page, then the review pages which I'm yet to write, and then the wrap up page which is incomplete for this month. So yeah, that's basically how I set up my reading journal after a month. Bye.